Did you like it? So I spent 11 nights playing. Your home has you understand it, so you hear what you say.
Welcome, dear readers, to Cover My Ass, where baffling books are reviewed but not read by yours truly. My name is Khaki.
And I'm Kay, and remember, we only judge a book by its cover.
And we find ourselves once more amid the towering stacks of your library and in rather a familiar sticky situation. If you'll notice,
You got caught in a glue trap.
I'm stuck in the glue traps again. I remember,
you know they're orange for a reason, right?
What reason? What reason is that?
Nice and visible.
But that's, I worried that the Velociraptors that I'm trying to hunt with these would therefore be wise to their act.
They're colorblind.
The Velociraptors are colorblind. Alright, that explains a lot. Cool. Last time, you rather abruptly freed me from my sticky prison.
Yes.
Left a bit of skin behind.
Yes, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, did not love that. Had to make another bookworm liver poultice.
Oh yes, they're excellent, aren't they?
Quite miraculous. But this time, is there something we can do as a team to rescue me from my sticky predicament?
Oh, well, let's see.
Perhaps something that we can concoct as a solvent.
I'd have to check the book repair studio and see if I can find anything to remove glues. Otherwise, we're going to have to get creative.
Since we do have to record an episode here, and it sounds like the book repair studio is quite far away, how about we get creative? Like, is there something we can do with ink and, I don't know, I've got a few jars of urine.
I was wondering about that. I mean, water should, like most glues...
You think, but I've been sweating and spitting and...
No, just a little bit of wiggling. It must be a better glue than I thought it was.
I mean, if it's supposed to keep down a Velociraptor...
Yeah, but they're tiny, you know, a little bit
So you
glue.
keep saying,
Yes.
but the noises are really quite frightening.
Oh, there's a lot of them.
So they make it up in volume.
Well, yeah, they all march in goose step, so that's why they sound like thump, 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 thump.
They sound like a bunch of
It's like when you see the little
turkeys.
vibrating waves in your jars of urine, then it's when you know that they're like marching in lockstep.
Yeah,
and
or it's
trying
worm
to...
sign.
No. The bookworms don't get that big. It's like that would be murder on the books.
No, because you're right. That would be silly.
I can try peeing. Well, you already tried peeing on it, didn't you?
You know, I think it is starting to loosen a little bit. So you know what? Maybe let's just give it some time.
You can't be comfortable in that position.
I've been living in a library for 14 weeks. I remind you, I've made a book fort. I've made a vellum teepee. I've strode the...
But you've got your left elbow stuck next to your right ankle, and it's like, it must be like murder on your spine being... How long have you been stuck in that position?
Yoga pose. I mean, how long has it been since our last recording?
About 4 days.
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 4 days.
Well, give or take, 4 days.
Okay. It was the same night.
Yeah, I mean, you freed me from the glue trap, and I pretty much immediately ran into the nearest one. Yeah, but you know me, I'm not one to complain, and also my phone doesn't pick up 7G, so I couldn't really call for help. But
okay, well, there's that.
It's all fine.
Where did you order the glue traps, by the way?
It's all fine. I wrote glue traps, and I kissed the piece of paper, and then let the winds take it, and I presumed that the gnomes that you mentioned previously found my note.
Yeah, provided you with glue traps. Fantastic.
I was surrounded by glue traps when I woke up.
Oh, that explains why you got stuck.
Well, yeah.
Well, be more specific next time.
I guess, because the gnomes, it seems that they really do try to help.
Oh, yeah, they mean well.
They mean well.
You just have to, like, be unambiguous. It's a bit like genies in that regard.
Genies don't mean well, traditionally.
It depends on how well you treat them, really. If you're a dick to them, then, you know, they're more inclined to start getting literal about your demands. I mean, I wouldn't know. I've never actually found a unused genie bottle, but...
Wait, you would turn your nose up at a used one?
Well, there's no genie in it anymore.
Hey, does making 3 wishes use the genie up?
Well, or maybe the genie was freed. I don't know. I mean, it was a genuine genie bottle. It said so. It was certified in Persia on the bottom, so there was just no genie in it.
And the market vendor assured you that he was giving you a special price for you, my friend.
Only 20 kopeck.
Wait, kopecks are Russian. I know it from my constructivist art history classes in... Yes, I went to a very useful university, I'll have you know. The communists wanted an art of 5 kopecks, and a kopeck is not a lot of money.
No.
But art that people could afford, that wasn't for the lofty elites.
Ah, okay, yeah. Mass reprints, basically.
Mass reproductions, art, recordings of music, that's the stuff that they liked.
We pay you by the amount of prints that you make, not by the size of them, so they're all post-stamp sized.
You know, I never looked into the actual production.
That's generally how planned economies tend to go. If someone has a good idea, and there's, you know, when you introduce metrics, and people start working to the metrics, and not necessarily towards the goal that you were hoping to
but sometimes though,
achieve with the metric.
As long as you have enough wide-eyed idealists, you actually stand a decent chance. And El Lissitzky, his fantastic poster art, Nobody could understand it.
Oh, that's the guy from all the heroic communist posters?
Oh, no, this guy is deep into these geometric shapes and splashes of black and red, and a famous one was beat the whites with the red wedge, and it's this slash of black with a white circle in it, and then a red wedge plunging through, and it's supposed to symbolize the October Revolution.
Okay.
Nobody got it, but it did wind up being used as the logo of the Peacekeeper aliens in Farscape, the science fiction series.
Yeah, of course, the artist years later comes walking into a gallery and he goes like, "It's upside down."
Well, when you make abstract art, you really don't get to complain.
Fair enough.
And speaking of abstraction, it's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
No, wait, I've got it.
Yeah?
Speaking of abstract art, what do we have in store for our readers at home this week?
What we have this week. Oh no, there the book goes.
Oh no! Come back, book.
Hang on, book. Help.
Hang on, I'll get my harpoon.
No harpooning books. The bookworms already making enough holes in them. So, the book today is George O. Smith's The Fourth R.
The fourth R. And R is in grocer's quotes there.
I assume that's just to make it very clear that they're talking about the one letter R, and it's not like a
and that is not like
R.
Or a mathematical value. So grocer's quotes are misused quotes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Where italics would suffice.
So, about the cover, what we see is the main character of the book.
Hold on. Yeah.
Go on then.
We're breaking them out earlier. That would be Rodrigo.
Rodrigo. Yeah, that sounds about right.
The t-shirted boy sitting in the clumsy lotus position.
Who is wearing the bridge and the main top seasoning of a executor-class Star Destroyer.
I see what you mean. His thinking helmet is indeed just covered with all of these spandrels, and it looks incredibly heavy. Greebles? Okay, what are greebles?
Little bits of texture which are used to break up the uniformity of a model. It's a model maker's term. It's the stuff that the whole Death Star is covered with, that the Millennium Falcons. It's all these little things which are usually taken from model kits.
Kit bashing.
Yes, it's called greebles. It's
just detail that looks like it's supposed to be there.
Yeah, to stop spaceships from looking like big slaps of flat. Look at the Star Destroyers again. You've got the huge flat panes. Okay, and along the edges you get loads of little thing where the gun turrets are and everything, and on top you get
that's right.
You get to break up the monotony of the.
It's very noticeable on the Superstar Destroyer, where it's almost like an opening. The whole city
comes up.
Is poking.
And this boy is wearing that city on his head. So he's either very huge or it's a model.
What do you mean? It's very huge.
The boy is very huge. If that's a Star Destroyer's bridge, then that boy is ginormous.
Yes, and he's wearing an 80s striped purple and orange t-shirt.
Yes. Actually, is it gold and blue?
Or is it white and black? Yeah. There's a nice topical reference for all of our readers to enjoy.
It's a level 2 meme, I think.
Oof. And he's wearing jeans and tennis shoes.
Yes.
The computer wore tennis shoes.
Is that a book?
It's a movie from the 60s. I think it was from Disney. Oh, it's these university boys who can't afford a computer, so they negotiate with a shady businessman who's running some kind of gambling ring to get a computer for the university. And then while one of them is installing it, lightning strikes and he becomes a human computer. Yeah, because that's how shit works.
So clearly the thinking cap.
Yes, of course.
It's referred
That's
to in
right,
the book.
The thinking cap.
As is run by the master frame.
The educative AI, that seems to be its primary domain.
I knew it was a good idea to have spare notes.
Excellent note wielding there. Love it.
The master frame tutoring the kids in the arts of everything they need to know, because there's a little bit more in the subtitle of the book.
Yes.
It's like, the machine taught him everything except what he needed most to know.
While in the background, there's these glowing red lights.
Basically, the 80s style computer aesthetic, clearly meant to be a mainframe light or something like that.
Yes, exactly. Because you can't have a computer just processing in the background. No,
they have to be blinken lichten.
Wasn't that the case with the ENIAC? One of the early computers where, when it was displayed for journalists, they just stuck on a bunch of lights.
Flashy lights,
Yeah, just blinken lichten.
Yeah, the really original ones were still tube operated, and they just glowed, so there was lights on those. Even these days, you see a lot of indicator lights, just little lights flashing, showing that there's connectivity and that whether or not there's traffic coming in and out. And there's this particular light panel that shows up in the original Battlestar Galactica and several other movies. And it's basically this computer panel that was shipped all over Hollywood whenever anybody needed something to look futuristic, computery. That was put in the shot to provide some scenic background, computer techie background.
Because they were very responsible with their resources back in the day. It was not uncommon for these kind of resources to be recycled and reused and repaired.
Back then, you could still repair. You're doing pretty good. It's like, that's 4 there.
Do we get any points for that?
Why don't you put a note on the board?
Why don't I put a note on the board? Okay, yeah. Oh, no, I didn't. No. Hold on. No, not that one either. No.
Maybe.
Oh, just give me a second.
No, that's okay.
This is actually really hard because now I'm listening to myself over this new recording setup that we have, and I sound so erudite I sound like a radio person. So suddenly I feel like I've got to live up to it.
Now you suddenly have to say sensible things.
Yes,
rather
exactly.
Than...
So I can't just put a note on the board that says pirates with an exclamation mark.
That was surely a surprise when they showed up.
All right. The digital mind pirates, who to my eye are to my ear are the first R in the book. Do you get it?
The pirates.
R.
Right.
Pirates R.
R. Yes, absolutely. Well, yes, it's like they're trolling over the. I think they called it the net in the book.
Yeah, it was rather prescient in that because this was well before the World Wide Web.
Yes, this book was produced somewhere in the 80s, the birth of cyberpunk. So the people were already working with computer network, and people were starting to see that those things might be used. We find our main character Rodrigo, who is sitting there taking his daily lessons.
Yeah, having knowledge pumped into his
Straight
brain.
into the brain. He's just sitting on the couch with his thinking cap on.
It should be noted, I think Rodrigo is supposed to be presented as rather an unusually gifted student. The fact that, like on the cover, he's receiving a full educational schedule directly into his brain, but he can multitask enough that he's sitting there bored and reading a magazine.
That scene alludes to later in the book when he discovers the hidden library. He's being recruited in the revolution against the rogue AIs used to indoctrinate the youth, trying to set up a revolution against the powers that be, so to speak.
Yes, the establishment. So these revolutionaries enter the story as the pirates, swashbuckling and adventurous and bucking the authority of the Master Frame. They're trying to examine the students that are connected to the Master Frame. They're trying to see
who is still thinking on their own enough to be able to just intake the information that's being pumped into their brains daily, but still retain enough independent thought to be a potential candidate.
Yes, and to integrate new information, something that the thinking cap tends to prohibit, but which Rodrigo's prodigious intelligence allows him to do. Now, I thought that there was a parallel to Gnosticism. Are you familiar with that?
Like Johnny Gnosis from...
Johnny Gnosis? Do you mean Johnny Mnemonic? No, the Gnostics were they're called heretics.
Sect, weren't they?
Yes, they observe some different texts than the conventional Bible does. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene is one of them. But one of the things that a particular Gnostic sect, the Cathars, from whom several languages get their word for heretic, Keter, is from Cathar. One of their beliefs was the duality of God, that there is true God and the demiurge. And the demiurge was responsible for the creation of the world, but has sort of seized control of it, impersonating God. They believe, therefore, that mainstream Christians are under the thrall of the demiurge.
Right.
Much in the way that the pirates are trying to expose the Master Frame, this benevolent AI,
for the totalitarian government that it actually is.
Exactly, because it's not even an AI. It's just a vast bureaucracy supported by computers and supported by low-level AIs, but it's the voice of the government consisting of apparatchiks and
presumably a inner circle clique of those who are secretly running the shows.
The Illuminati.
It's not the Illuminati if it's the government.
No, that's true. Oh, what's the old phrase? They're not robbers if they're police. No, that's not right.
I see what you mean, though.
As much as I was initially interested in learning more about the Master Frame, and these pirates just seemed a little weird to me.
Oh, why did they have to mess with something so good?
Because it seemed like, yes.
That's what the book did really well. It really eases you into showing off a very almost idyllic society, and then it starts picking at the seams and showing how it's in fact not all is what it seems, and that
as good sci-fi ought to do.
That is based on thought control of the people through the thinking caps.
Yes.
Just indoctrinate them early, and
the
then
mind helmets.
That's the less colloquial term for them.
At this point, we're introduced to the leader is kind of underselling the loose organizational structure that the pirates have. Rowan, the leader. Oh, once again making a Farscape reference, I was reminded of the blue woman, Pau Zotozan, who at one point declares that she was imprisoned because on her home planet she was part of a group of anarchists, and then very proudly she says, "In fact, I was the leading anarchist," which is such a fucking great paradox.
Yeah, I was the leading. Like flat earthers, you'll find them all over the globe.
All around the globe, yeah. Which is an example of the second R, the recursion that occurs several times, because Rowan takes Rodrigo under her wing and begins to teach him in the history that the totalitarian government, in the guise of the master frame, has distorted. And she tries to teach him the real history of the world and how it wound up in a situation where parents no longer teach their children, and there's no such thing as teachers. So no investiture of human effort to disperse information, but instead just downloading and reprogramming people.
Program them for the role.
Yes.
It's a little bit Aldous Huxley there. Not as genetically as it is in Brave New World, obviously.
No, but the aptitude tests very quickly determine which level of education you're going to get.
The whole recursion thing you just mentioned comes back again. Of course, when Rodrigo is away from his thinking cap, for example, exploring the building.
Bad helmet hair.
Yeah. And what he finds, of course, there is the...
what does he find?
He finds the hidden library that I mentioned earlier.
Oh, that's right.
Which is occupied by Mr. Malinfant.
Mr. Malinfant. Here I tell some parallels to my own experience. I mean, this is how I found myself here. I found your library.
Yes.
A story that we'll get into some other time, of course. But it was occupied by a mysterious, enigmatic, some would say eccentric librarian. Yeah.
Moi?
Yeah. Your humble, elegant self.
Thank you.
And
that's not how you described me the first time, but
no, nor does Rodrigo to Mr. Malinfant, but he's this peculiar man.
He is. Turns out he's so peculiar, and he acts so strange in the eyes of Rodrigo.
Yes?
Because he's an old school teacher from before the Master Frame Revolution. The collective, the apparatchiks took control of the
Ministry of Education
and started pushing society in the way they wanted, and abolished schools, of course, in the process.
Step by step, starting out with synthetic substitute teachers and then automated educational programs.
Yeah, and then the mind helmets came along at some point.
Yes, the thinking caps, which is a very charming marketing term for something that's really quite horrible. I mean, I remember when I was in school, I imagined what it would be like to not have to sit in class and to just be able to stick a plug into my brain and download the information I needed. Because that's how computers work.
With computers, it's just raw data. And I suppose that a large part of school systems, which people, at least, kids don't realize, it's not just about what you're learning. It's about learning how to learn. And more importantly, learning how to process information and do something with it.
I mean, computers can have entire programs loaded. Look at the Matrix, where someone was taught kung fu.
No, keep going.
I saw your little eyes light up. I like that. Okay, well, let me tell you about the Matrix. That this other person gave them access to essentially taekwondo.exe. When he goes, whoa, I know kung fu.
Yeah, and then he shows that he knows the moves, but he doesn't know how to fight. That's what Morpheus tries to teach him. It's like, stop trying to hit me and hit me. Having the knowledge on its own is not good. You have to use it and incorporate it and do something with it.
Information just exists until you access it, and then it becomes knowledge.
That's what the whole thinking cap is about. Basically automating human beings, and it's like
automating decision making. Choices need to be
something you
optimized.
Yeah. Little programs to run your daily thing. It's the ultimate form of neuro-linguistic programming.
I've heard a little bit about NLP. How do you see that?
I was talking more of a science fiction application to it, like in Snow Crash, where you can literally
by Neil Stephenson.
Program people if you know the right mind commands.
Babel 17 has shades of that by, if I say Zelazny and it's wrong, I'm sure a horde of our readers at home are going to devour me. I'm so sorry. I so enjoyed that book, especially The Lion Gentleman with the
large assets.
So, given all of this, I can completely understand why he tries to teach Rodrigo through rock and roll, something that is so vastly outside of his experience. Yeah, intuitive and of
emotional.
The body.
And that's the big thing. Emotions being like trying
emotion,
to swept
intuition,
under the rug.
Innovation, like anything that doesn't have
4
an R.
R's, not 4 I's.
Wait, the 4 I's? So innovation, interruption, and emotion? Is that what you're saying?
And immersion.
Well, that sort of ties in with the lesson program that Mr. Malenfant has. Is actually that's what the title refers to. I have the biggest note here, so I'm just going to establish that it refers to the 4 R's, which are reading, writing, arithmetic, and art.
Okay,
it's being the 4 R.
Art from RT. Yes. Well, that's when that's where the front cover comes in. He takes some books from the hidden library and starts reading them while he's being mind programmed, and that's where like you said, the boy is clearly class of his own.
No, he's exceptional. Yeah. Rodrigo is just an exceptional mind, as those occur from time to time. It doesn't make him the Messiah. It doesn't make him a revolutionary himself. He just happens to be a very gifted young man who hasn't learned to make use of his excess abilities.
The learning algorithms have picked up on this and it's gone like, okay, so this is an intelligent boy, so we need to make sure that that his excess intelligence is not used for revolution or rampage. Which, of course, is where the pirates are trying to recruit him for.
Okay, so
pirates trying to set up a breakdown of society by undermining the master frame.
Even there, it turns out that they have something to... Coming back to the theme of recursion, they have something to learn
Coming back to recursion, very good.
Did you mean recursion? Where they...
Look up what it says on the recursion in the dictionary.
They think they're liberating young people like Rodrigo. Oh. Humanity, yes, but one brick in the wall, one mind at a time, and trying to teach these young people through Mr. Malenfant and a number of other teachers who take them under the wing. But what they're unprepared for, this recursion, is how much they're learning from Rodrigo in return. And the same happens to the master frame. Like the very fact that Rodrigo is sitting there just mentally multitasking, reading books about Reading, the place in England, because it's not about reading, it's about Reading. But
Reading. I thought that was the past tense of reading.
English spelling is a bottomless pit of despair.
Well, you know what they say, English is 3 languages in a trench coat trying to pass itself off as an actual language.
L-E-A-D. How do you pronounce that?
L-E-A-D?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, lead or lead.
No, it's lead. Yeah, or is it...
God, it's fish, not goatee.
Let's not explain that, and let's hope that some of our readers at home
are familiar with that particular linguistic oddity.
This feedback mechanism is happening to everyone around Rodrigo. You have the master frame receiving feedback from Rodrigo as he's reading about art and rock and roll.
And he is influencing everybody in his class.
Because the educational program is being affected by all of this information that's coming upstream out of his brain.
Massive influence in the master frame's lower AIs, which I suppose is the pirates realize that they're achieving their goal much faster than they originally thought they were going to be. And they have no idea how people are starting to think for themselves again and something's not right here. I know this is how it's always been, but how did it happen? We never voted for this.
Shades of the Matrix. Gosh, that was a very good piece of media that's really stuck with us, hasn't it?
It's been 45 years and it's not...
Has it been 45 years? How long have you... I thought I'd only been stuck here for 14 weeks. What are you telling me?
Well, no, the Matrix didn't come out just before you got in here, did it?
No, it came out in 1999. That was 19 years before I arrived.
I might have had the wrong calendar here. Let me check that.
What? I've been reading the wrong calendar?
Well, which one have you been using, the blue or the red one?
My iPhone 5S.
Well, it doesn't synchronize with the network anyway, so don't worry about it.
True, and I've been on a solid diet of bookworms, so I'm going slightly colorblind myself.
It's the velociraptors that are colorblind. The bookworms don't have eyes at all.
The Libroraptors. You're not going to fool
me.
Me.
For Libroraptor.
I can already see you trying to NLP your way into convincing me that this library is some kind of fanciful, absurd wonderland.
Right. Well, if you want to vary your diet a bit, you can always go to the vending machine on the B deck.
You did mention that there were decks before. Why did that slip my mind?
The library tends to be very overwhelming. Have you found the 7th corner yet?
I'm still looking for the beehives. Those spoilers, as soon as I get out of these, I can already feel the glue starting to loosen.
Yeah.
As soon as I get out, I'm going to, I'll work this out for myself. It gives me something to do during the weeks that we're not recording.
Glad to see that you're amusing yourself in the library and you're not doing too much damage, I swear, if you get any of my books stuck on these glue traps, there will be a reckoning. You will be losing more than a little bit of skin.
Is that the fourth R?
That would be the fourth rec.
I have my thing where it's reading, writing, arithmetic, and traditionally I think the third, arithmetic, is reckoning, because that's...
Rekenen in Dutch.
Yeah, reckoning in German.
Yeah.
And also in English, because, like, talking about your reckoning will come, just used to mean the bill.
Even in French, it's l'addition. It's like the bill. It's like
the addition. Yeah. Shall we just blast through the rest of our notes?
Let's do that and see how we can wrap this up.
Here I've got one that's related to the fourth R.
Mm-hmm. George R. Martin.
George R. Martin. Well, actually, I've highlighted them here. Where George, that's got one R, and then George, two more R's, and then Martin has another R. So maybe this Giorgio Smith was actually a nom de plume for George R. Martin.
So it's George 0 R's Smith, as opposed to George R. Martin.
No, he's still got one R in the George, though.
Well, yes.
Let's just throw you off the scent.
I suppose so, yes.
Divide by 0, multiply by 0. Yeah, so that's my little pet theory, that this is actually a George R. Martin, which would explain why so many of the supporting characters die as a result of their own hubris.
When the society systems start to collapse, because running a rock and roll program on a energy frame for the building, we didn't start the fire, but the mainframe did.
They did not build cities on rock and roll, but they certainly broke them down.
Yes,
the hospitals start running out on disco lights. Here's another note: Renfield.
He's more in the rest and relaxation part of the apartment building in where Rodrigo lives with his parents, and Rachel and Roman.
Okay, you are so good at this.
Well, sometimes I get a bit rusty, but...
This is utterly calamitous, Kay. It will not stand.
We'll have to just roll with it then.
Oh, God. This is rubbish.
It's ridiculous.
You can't possibly have that many more.
I'm starting to run
dry. You're not. You've run its course. So good. But we've been focusing on the R's this whole time. But... should we maybe have been focusing a bit more on the fourth, in the way that Rodrigo stands separate from the rest, and even though there are other minds that have been rescued, oh God, I'm doing it now as well, from the master frame by the digital pirates and the rock and roll teachers like Mr. Malenfant, he still stands apart from all of them. And it's not merely his intelligence, but his mental multitasking, the fact that information flows two ways through him, that recursion that we were talking about previously.
Absolutely. Well,
I wonder if that has anything to do with the fourth plinth. If you're familiar on Trafalgar Square in London, there are 4 big columns, and 3 of them have statues on them, and the 4th one was supposed to have a sculpture.
Yes, but they couldn't agree on it, or there was no funding, and later
there wasn't any funding, and then for like a century, there was no decision made of what should be on there.
And occasionally they went like, we should put something on there, and they didn't.
And then it was decided that it would just always be temporary artworks. Don't we have a friend who stood on the 4th?
Yes, they had this big event there where I think they divided up in half-an-hour time slots, or maybe hour time slots. Yeah, you could just sign up, and you could stand on your plinth and do something. And some people used it to campaign for various things.
Yeah, the whole speeches.
I think one person had his rowing machine put up there, and he sat there and just exercised on it for an hour.
Performance art.
It was like one big performance art thing. And yes, we did have a friend in there. I think he drank beer as well, which was always a good thing to do.
Good old Ollie. Well done. I can see you've got one more. Do you have just one more note?
I have a note, but it doesn't have any R's in it. It was just going to be a other character.
Well, let's see what this... let's put the character...
I had a character called Johnny Sockintosh.
Johnny Sockintosh. That's right. That's the... I tell you what. I'm going to give it a shot. That's the other student that was liberated by the pirates at around the same time as Rodrigo. But Johnny Sockintosh, unlike Rodrigo, was resistant to the message. He was immediately turned off by the chaos and the plurality.
And he didn't have the benefit of running into Mr. Malenfant, which is why I think he would have been more suitable for the pirates' purposes.
Coming back to the recursion, where he and Rodrigo share so much in common, with the exception that Rodrigo had a better teacher, and therefore he turned out better. He didn't turn on the pirates. He didn't embrace the master frame, even after discovering that it was really just a bureaucratic hellhole, a giant deception.
Turned into Rodrigo's biggest opponent,
nemesis.
Really, nemesis.
Can we think of an R word that means that? I've got it. You're going to hate it, though, okay?
Go on, then.
Arch enemy.
Arch enemy. Yes, because that starts with an R. Yes.
Okay. He's Rodrigo's arch enemy, like Mr. Smith in The Matrix. Gosh, I'm referencing that movie a lot. But they could have been completely identical, except Rodrigo had a better teacher, which brings us to the final showdown between Rodrigo and Johnny Sockington.
Sockintosh.
They stand across from each other with the fate of the world hanging in the balance. I mean, with their mind helmets on, whatever happens between them is being fed up into the master frame.
The battle for Hogwarts between two boys with their mind helmets on, trying to hack the other one's brain. It's like wand wielding, except it's all done in the head.
Yeah, they're just standing across from each other and going,
but with more R's in it.
The problem was, I listened to the audiobook read by Jonathan Ross, who has an adorable speech impediment.
And he goes,
no, he just doesn't pronounce the R's very well. He just has some people have that.
Jonathan Ross.
It's very endearing.
The final battle between Johnny and Rodrigo.
Now you as an aficionado of cyberpunk must have really enjoyed that. Like literally, they're trying to hack each other's brains and teaching each other the lessons that they themselves have just learned.
I've learned this casual remark about 2 pages into describing the mental fight between them when the second hand of the clock on the wall ticks over and you realize this is all happening in literally the blink of an eye, which is why the fight is over almost before it starts for the outside observers. And then suddenly, well, we give spoilers, do we?
On this show, do we give spoilers? Yeah. You know what? Hey, Kay, why don't you spoil the ending for our readers?
Well, Johnny keels over and Rodrigo doesn't escape unharmed from the fight.
No, he's shaken and he needs to be helped up, much like Muhammad Ali after going 12 rounds with whoever.
He's definitely been hit in the arse.
Do you want to say that louder for the people at home in case I edit out the first time that you do it?
Yeah. He's definitely been kicked in the arse.
Yeah. How many arses has he been kicked in?
No, well, Johnny's arse got kicked, but Rodrigo got a bit of a kicking himself. And the pirates got their ass kicked, and technically the master frame, so that would make 4 arse that got kicked.
So Johnny's was the 4th arse that got kicked. Okay, great.
Well, I think we ran out of book at this point.
I even put my other notes away, can you imagine?
Oh, dear.
After which, poor Rodrigo is helped to his feet. And I've got to say, I always love a slightly to-be-continued ending when he's helped out to rebuild what remains of the pirates and to continue the fight against the totalitarian government
of the master frame,
their puppet AI, the master frame, that Johnny Sockintosh twitches awake again, rolls over onto all fours and climbs up and starts humming Living on a Prayer. Something that Johnny never learned rock and roll. That was Rodrigo that learned rock and roll. So was there a mind swap? It's all about the recursion.
It is. It leaves the reader with a opportunity to fill in his own thoughts on the matter.
Much as the Master Frame tried to do to our hero. So the 4th R by George O. Smith, or possibly George R.R. Martin. Wow, we didn't really make any connection with that. So how should we rate this book? What's a good mind number?
We can give it 3 out of 4 R's, but
yeah, we enjoyed reading it.
We were all ranting about it.
We enjoyed ranting about it. We certainly reviewed it.
And are we going to recommend it?
Oh my God, you nailed it. Well, 3 out of 4 ain't bad.
Absolutely not.
So I think we should. I think the glue just let go.
Oh, yes. I think it says here, lasts for 25 minutes and 4 days.
Yes. It's lovely to be able to move my shoulders again. Wow, I think this is the first time that we've actually referred back to
our opening sequence. Yes, absolutely. Are you going to be more careful about the notes you put out for the gnomes now? Are you? No, you're not, are you?
Speaking of reviewing, to the readers at home, we'd love to hear what you thought, whether you listened or not, so drop us a line sometime. We're Cover My Ass Cast on Twitter and Facebook if that's your thing, or even better, leave a nice review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast, because we sure do appreciate your help. Now, Kay, what are we doing next time?
We are reviewing a book by Kathleen Meyer. It's already the 3rd edition of a classic of her.
Whoa.
How to Shit in the Woods, an environmentally sound approach to a lost art.
The Bear Manual. Oh, goodness. Yeah. Well, and that about covers it. Thank you for joining us at Cover My Ass, where baffling books are reviewed but not read by yours truly. My name is Khaki.
And I'm Kay. And remember, we only judge a book by its cover.
So how if you